What's up guys, Dan Frullani here and welcome back to a new video. Today filming with my Sony ZV-E1 and it's a wonderful day, sunny. It was supposed to rain according to my iPhone, but it's obviously not gonna happen anytime soon. So what do I talk about today? Picture profiles. What about them? Unlike Canon, that when we have to film, we have two options. One, to shoot using default picture styles, and two, to shoot in S-Log or S-Log3, whatever you have available in your Canon camera. But since the default picture styles suck, if we want some good quality, we are forced to use S-Log3. For what concerns Sony, we do have a flat profile, S-Log3, which is awesome. But we have some great default picture styles, and the best one is S-Cinetone. So what should we use when we make videos? S-Cinetone or S-Log3? Okay, let's start talking about this. S-Cinetone is a default picture style that gives us some great rendition for what concerns the colors and quality with a cinematic touch. Not too much, and S-Log3 gives us some very flat image that we have to color grade in post. So what's the difference? Okay, that if we use S-Cinetone, the footage is already like colored, ready to use straight out of camera. And when we use S-Log3, the image is very flat. We have to color grade it in post. What are the advantages of S-Cinetone and what are the advantages of S-Log3? Okay, when we use S-Cinetone, as I already mentioned, the colors are awesome, very faithful to what we see, plus a cinematic touch, and we can use them straight on camera. But when we use S-Log3, even though it's really flat, but that's what makes it awesome, because by doing so, by keeping the image like almost all gray, with no saturation, no sharpness, no contrast, really flat. By doing so, the camera is able to retain all the details in the highlights and the shadows. So when we use S-Log3, we have more dynamic range. I believe from 14 to 15 steps of dynamic range. When we use S-Cinetone, we have less dynamic range, like let's say 11 steps, more or less, something like that. Another difference, not many people talk about this, is in low light conditions. What I see on the internet, on YouTube and pretty much everywhere, they talk about dual ISO, that when you set it to 640 and or 12,800, you get the best quality. But not many people mention that this is true for S-Log3. And yes, to get the best quality for your footage, when you shoot using S-Log3, you have to set your ISO to 640. And when you film in low light conditions, the best ISO is 12,800. Everything else in the middle would just add digital noise. Yeah, it's true. For S-Log3. For what concerns S-Cinetone, its basic native ISO is 100, not 640, 100. And it has a dual native ISO, basic, native, potato. The other ISO is not 12,800, but rather 2,000, and that's quite a difference. Okay, now I would just like to show you some footage shot in S-Cinetone and some footage shot using S-Log3 and color graded in post. And let's see if you can tell which one is which. Alright, so what do you think about it? Leave a comment down below, hit the like button, and subscribe if you ain't already. And check the links in the description to see all my gear stuff and things, my gear. And check the link to Artlist if you want 2 months of awesome music and sound effects and voiceovers, footage, and all you need to make your videos. 2 months are free if you subscribe to an annual plan through my link. Alright, so which one is which? I'm gonna show you now. So, did you guess right or not? Okay, now let's see. Is S-Cinetone better than S-Log3 or vice versa? S-Log3 better than S-Cinetone. Which one is better? Let's say it depends, because they're different. On one side, it's true that using S-Log3 gives us more dynamic range and more detail than everything, and the possibility to color grade the footage, pushing the color so much. Yes, that's true, but it's true also that in an environment where we don't have so much difference from the shadows, the darkest point of the footage, and the highlights, when there's not too much difference, you could barely notice the difference. If you don't need to push your color grading to the extreme, but you still want to color grade the footage, you can do it. Also when you use S-Cinetone, because remember, this is still 10-bit 422, so you can do some color grading anyway. But if you're filming at night, of course, S-Log3 is going to be superior because of the dual ISO. As I mentioned, for what concerns S-Log3, the dual ISO is 640 and 12,800. You can get some awesome quality at that high ISO, and that's not true for S-Cinetone. Yes, it's good in low light, but its dual ISO is 100. And if you want to use it in low light conditions, its other native ISO is 2000. So which one is better? You tell me. Is it better S-Log3 or S-Cinetone? Again, it depends. If you film in a controlled environment, like in a studio, where you can control the intensity of the lights, S-Cinetone would do. Unless you want to do some extreme color grading. If you film outdoors and there's so much difference between the shadows and the highlights, you want to try to retain both as much as possible, well then, you should use S-Log3. And that will also allow you to color grade your footage to the extreme. Alright, that's all I wanted to tell for today, and I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, smash the like button, subscribe if you ain't already, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Oh yeah!